Yes.
paperwork,
Oh,
whatever your handouts are, you have people that
Okay,
came
we
in.
don't have enough of these.
No, your packages.
Oh, I got a lot.
Hand them down.
Them over. Not literally, pass them over.
I'm here.
I just passed my.
David, you got
Mike was. Thank you very much.
everybody here at the table, does it have one?
Yeah.
Jerry, you got one. And Carol, you have
It's
one.
got one.
Okay, I now call the meeting to order, and at this moment, I am going to skip the reading of the minutes because I want this to move along and have as much time as possible and give everybody a chance to ask questions. A little brief saying is that since April of last year, and this is April of this year, we've been lollygagging around, and it has cost us no less than, I guess I put it on 125 to 150,000 pre-tax dollars, because through 2022, we earned a total of $500 interest on 10 million plus. And here it is again. So there were questions as to how we were going to move forward, what the treasurer was responsible for, what he wasn't. I do know that we started with treasury bills, and now treasuries and CDs, which are specifically stated that that's my option in Yuko's bylaws. I brought them if anybody wants to see them. The latest, it's on page 14. I didn't know if to make copies, but anybody is welcome. We'll give you another copy. So, having said that, and before I'm turning the floor over to you, I want to introduce to everybody here 2 new members of the Finance Committee. On the left side, my left, is David Singer, who is owner in Wellington A, and the backgrounds were given. And hi, David, you could talk, I think. It's very experienced. Do you want to say something?
I said it's nice to see you. Nice to see my friend Jerry sitting there so quietly.
Okay. And the other gentleman on my right in the dark clothes is Richard. And Richard is,
Very close.
excuse me, someone else is trying to get through, right? Richard Zaslow.
Oh, no, that's Mike. That's Mike. Michael.
What? Mike Zaslow. That's what happens when you get to the name. Mike Zaslow is an expert in computer writing, security, and has put up one of the best web pages for Golf's Edge, which has everything you would want. So Mike is very experienced, and he was put on the committee. Thank you. Having said that, I now turn. Let me give everybody a chance to look through the pamphlet that I gave out.
Here's some more down.
Oh, here's another pamphlet.
Ed, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, Ed, since I don't have a copy of that document that you distributed, can you give us a short synopsis as to what the point of it is?
Yes, and I could email it to you. It is basically a PowerPoint printout of what CDs are, what they're meant to do, what's the upside, what's the downside. And I distributed to everybody because at one point it was said that everybody, including the delegates, should have a knowledge. The only thing I see in here is I wrote it, and this is a great job by John Malloy. It says somewhere that you can lose the principal if you early cash in the CD, and he's allowed one mistake, and that's absolutely false. You could only get a reduced interest, unless I'm wrong.
Yep.
You can only get a reduced.
Are we up?
interest.
No? Okay.
Who's talking? Who's quiet? Turn them off. Come on, go ahead. I finished. Finish what you're saying so we can.
Speak up. Breaking up whoever's talking.
They were talking to someone else.
Who?
They weren't speaking to. Continue.
Oh, okay. So having said that, I now will, David wrote some handouts, but he didn't anticipate this massive crowd. He has only 10. If you want, after the meeting, we can make more copies and give them out.
I'll be able to forward more as well, yeah.
We want to see, we'll
So
take
you
one.
pass out what you got.
There's a couple of here.
It's 5 minutes. I'm done. I have 5 million. Thank you. Bank of America. I'll grab one.
I said you would try. Oh, try. I said, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You want to call him?
I do.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We could wait a couple of minutes,
Sure.
if they could go through it. I intend to send it out by the same means that I sent out the others.
Donald Foster, Architecture.
David Harvan.
Nice
How
to
are
meet you,
you?
Mr. Corbett. This is my.
Okay, great. Please call me David. Yeah.
Watch him, he's worth 20 million.
Take another.
Okay.
Donald. Take your receipt.
No, I'm gonna sit over there in case I get called out, all right? Can I have a question? Thank you.
In case he wants to. Ruthie, give me that copy, please.
This,
Don't admit after, that's why it gave time. For people to look at it.
Thank you. Did you see? it?
Oh, Bruce Carroll.
I'll read it and make it more copy. Okay, make it more copy. You can- it's not-
Who's making copies?
Oh, yes, okay. So make more copy.
You want me to give us a little synopsis of what we're,
Well, let everybody take a few minutes to go through it.
Hi, John, how are you?
well, yeah, very good.
I have a question.
All the people are coming in.
We got more.
Thank you.
In the left side, the blue shirt.
Thank you.
Sitting right at the table.
Where are you, Mr. Bruce? Anyway,
May I start with a very important question? There are two things on here that contradict themselves, and I'd like to clarify that. At one point, safety and security are eligible for multi-million-dollar FDIC insurance on your CD investments. On the bottom, and it says are not FDIC insured.
I'll
Where are we?
clarify that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I don't want to ask for him, but I think what he's saying,
Let him,
Merrill Lynch is a broker. and they offer securities and investment that are not FDIC insured. And that's normal for any broker. They could buy treasuries like anybody else. You could buy treasuries direct. Anybody could buy treasuries direct. But we're focusing on now is CDs, which are explained in our bylaws on page 14. And I think what I'm looking to do is not go forward and lose close $250,000. Who was that? I can't.
Somebody's having a conversation and they don't realize that we can hear them.
They don't realize.
Everyone should mute. Everyone on Zoom, please mute yourselves unless you want to talk. I can't see everyone. So I have no way to see if you're indicating you want to talk. So please mute yourselves unless you need to address the audience.
Could you make that bigger? Is that-
Did you hear that?
Could you-
I think it's Paulette.
Excuse
It's
me?
Paulette Burdick. Okay, she muted herself, so you shouldn't hear any.
Is that Paulette in the writing?
It's just a-
I can't.
Oh,
It is confirmed muted.
Ah,
Oh, can we
and I
move on?
think that maybe Richard handles it.
What? No,
You have the floor.
Ah,
there it is. It looks where? Where?
He's up in the upper right-hand
Good.
corner.
anybody else?
I can't see. I can't see.
Okay,
All right.
I'd like to turn the floor over to David. Did I answer it? Do you want another answer?
I'll give further explanation if that's okay. Right, so hi, everyone, David Harvan. I work with Merrill Lynch in the Jupiter office. By way of background, Bank of America and Merrill Lynch are combined companies. Bank of America, we all know, traditionally go into the bank branch. Merrill Lynch, you've traditionally known as a brokerage type firm. As was mentioned, we deal with stocks and bonds traditionally with clients. And because of that, the regulators require us to put this on the bottom of any type of literature. And I'm actually supposed to say to you that if you came to us and invested in types of securities that those are not FDIC insured, you could lose money in those, and it's not guaranteed, by the bank. And thank you for asking that question. To clarify, today we are specifically talking about certificates of deposits, CDs, that are FDIC insured. So I'm glad you asked that in the beginning, just to clarify across the board. What is unique that I wish to talk to you about today and answer any questions that you have. As mentioned earlier, we go back to many, many days, and I know my grandfather always told me about the old days. Respect him very much, and you'd have to go to individual banks to open an account and invest in one CD to have the full coverage. And then you'd have to move your money to a different bank. Well, fortunately, many, many years ago, Merrill Lynch created a program that allows an individual or an entity such as your organization here to invest in one single account, multiple CDs, each of which gives you the full FDIC coverage. And you can think about what the advantage is. You just have one place that you can speak to the organization, myself, my team, and you have in the account all of the money that you place in there, and it's divided among various banks and institutions around the country that are all FDIC insured. There's a great need for that. If we go back a year ago, we all know that interest rates were virtually zero. And it's been like that for a long time. And it's been tough on all of us that have savings accounts. You work and you save. Today, we're in a much different place just within 1 year, where the Federal Reserve, as you know, has raised rates significantly. And so there are certain savings accounts and CD programs that are offering very attractive rates. And so those rates, and I'll share with you what they are currently, those rates fluctuate daily, weekly, what have you, but in the program I'm going to explain, they set the rate at the beginning of the week. And so for instance, this week, if you invested in a CD for 1 year, as an example, the annual rate is 4.85%. So if you do that math on $5 million, it's about $240 some thousand, which is, it's astonishing. And all of your money is in FDIC insured CD instruments. Very attractive. So I commend all of you for, wanting to investigate all this. The way the program works, and again, I'll answer any questions that you may have. For this program in particular, there's a $5 million minimum. And when the $5 million is placed in the account, you as the board or organization decide how long of a time frame do you wish for the money to be in a CD. So it could be 6 months as an example, it could be a full year. I wouldn't go past a year, and we can have that discussion. But if you could actually break your dollars up, some money for 6 months, some for 1 year, or do all of it for 1 year as an example. And then upon those CDs maturing, you do get all of your principal plus interest earned. And then if you so choose, you can reinvest in CDs going forward. And it's pretty much that simple, but ask me questions if you wish on any of the detail of that.
It's a no-brainer.
I think so. If you're sitting,
Okay, let me, I'm gonna ask management a question.
If it's not FDIC, how does Maryland?
Also, I appreciate you taking over. I'm gonna give you my salary.
Wait,
Taking over.
wait, 1 second.
Somebody was asking a question, that's why, let him finish.
Go ahead.
so excuse me. So just like if you put your money in a Bank of America or a Chase checking account and invest it in a CD, that's exactly how it will show on your statement. And so
FDIC insured,
correct.
the 5 million?
Yes, it's divided among
That's
many CDs, and those CDs, the amount, just so you're aware, that insurance coverage includes interest to be earned. And so each CD with this high interest rate, you might see it in the 240,000 range, let's say, because it accounts for the interest that you will accrue to make sure that's all covered in there. And this program is an example, just so you know, you can go up to 50 million. So it gives you an example of the capacity.
I have a question for Fausto. Is there any objection by the officers putting money into CDs? Putting this money into this program? Is there any objection?
I have no idea. I haven't heard, I hear a presentation,
Okay,
questions need to be asked.
okay. Well, we
Okay.
all know that the money is guaranteed by the government, so that's a no-brainer, okay? Now, let's say that we put $5 million in the account. All of a sudden, an emergency comes up, we have to take it out. The only thing we lose is the interest.
Let me,
Now,
No,
let me just finish,
No.
okay?
There's a penalty when you take out the CD.
and I'll explain that.
Go ahead.
Yes, okay. So in particular, and there's a sort of a sliding scale, so I'm going to give you all an example. And let's use a 26 weeks, so let's say it's 6 months, a CD, just as an example. The penalty for withdrawing early is 90 days of interest, so 3 months of interest would be the penalty. But let me clarify. So as an example, if you put money into a CD 6 months, and 1 month later,
You have to take.
That's right.
you took
So
that out,
In
you
that
have to pay
respect,
the
you
3
will be
months.
losing money. In
Right,
that
that's
respect.
when it would
Okay.
affect it. Now, if you made it to month 4 as an example, then you've actually earned more interest than the penalty amount.
I got you.
But that's that's a major
Okay,
understanding that you must have.
I needed that clarification. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I just want to clarify the point that I brought out that's in this particular presentation, where it says that you could lose part of your principal for early withdrawal, and I say that's wrong, but you're the expert.
Only in a situation where the interest penalty outweighs what's been earned, so they will take that from the principal amount.
Okay,
So just be very aware of that, and you can do the math in advance to understand.
the other question, as Fausto says, he hasn't had the opportunity to ask questions. The reason for this meeting is that we have several officers here, and the floor is open to ask you any questions. So the only one I heard so far is Olga, which always is here. Ask any questions. So the reason for this particular meeting of the Finance Committee and the Treasurer is because right in the bylaws, it says the treasurer has the ability to put money into CDs. And that you're not aware of, but that's what it says. So here I arranged, and so did John, to have a representative come, because at an officers meeting, you wouldn't get that amount of time. This is a specific meeting to ask any questions. Now, I had hoped that Richard would be on the phone. I'm going to call him because I spoke to Richard about this right before the meeting, and he's having trouble getting through. So again, the floor is open.
Joanne has a question. She's been trying to get your attention.
Oh, I didn't see you. Go ahead, Joanne.
Can I ask you, how deeply can you ladder in this program? In other words, if you said the minimum is 5 million, to what extent can we break it up into 30, 50, 100? You know, ladder.
So great question. So there's actually two parts to that answer. Number one, again, every 250,000 inclusive of the interest would be in its own CD, different institution. Number two, you have the ability, when we use the phrase laddering, that simply means we might have some CDs that are only 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So that's a ladder. So you always have money coming due at a certain period of time. And I'll tell you the increments of laddering. You can go as short as 1 month. I wouldn't suggest that, only because the rate is about a 1% less on an annualized rate. But you have, basically 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months is the, 2-3 years. I suspect there's no way you're going to lock your money up that long. I wouldn't suggest that. You're not getting paid enough to do that.
What happens at the administratively?
Yes.
That's what I'm more concerned with than anything.
Sure.
Administratively, because you'd want a ladder for protection purposes, but then administratively, what does that
Right.
entail? How much do we have to do administratively?
The very good question. Now, laddering, for protection purposes, you just want to make sure there's a different CD for every 250. Administratively, that's what's unique also about this program. We have a phrase called an institutional program, meaning that it's meant for larger sums of money and for individuals, but also corporations and entities. And it's almost on autopilot, for lack of a better description. We actually have an internal department that this is their sole purpose and focus, is to administer these type of accounts. And so when, let's say you make the decision to move forward, and then we, with the committee or treasurer or finance person, decide how many months and how much in dollar amounts, we give that information to this department, and then they automatically make this occur seamlessly. So you don't have to be, and all this information is shared with you, of course, through statements and otherwise, but you don't have to, like you would in your own bank account, you don't have to call the bank every time a CD comes due.
I need a little clarity.
Sure.
If we give you $5 million, are you saying that that $5 million is automatically laddered?
No.
No,
I
You
have
tell
to-
us what you want to happen.
we have to,
It's
okay.
implying your instruction, but once you give the instruction, we let that specific team execute on that.
The interest rate, let
Excuse me.
let me just finish.
It's been her.
One second, this is important. If the 1 month, the interest rate you said is just a little less than 6 months?
It's 1% less.
1% less, that's all. For 1 month is 1% less than 6 months, or? That's not around, okay, I got the clarity.
And let me, I also want to clarify, when we talk about interest rates, and again, they're flexible until the day, they're variable until the day it happens. Every interest rate that is quoted is what we call a rate for the entire year. And so if you had a 12-month CD, you'll receive that full interest rate, but if it's only 6 months, you're only going to receive 6 months of that interest rate for the year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that 1 month could be renewed monthly. What you see, here's what I'm thinking.
I have to interrupt.
Yeah,
Here's what I'm thinking.
I don't think it's worth it for
No, they don't do-
my personal opinion. 1%'s a lot on.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Okay, sure.
Okay, I'm thinking that if we put $5 million, I'm trying to avoid any penalties. So I'm saying if there's a certain amount at the 1 month, okay, we would probably never have to worry about any penalties. Because in an emergency, that money could be taken out within that month. So this is where I'm at.
Olga, I have to answer everybody. We currently have over $11 million. I only proposed to use 5 of the $11 million. And what you're doing is giving up interest and complicating something that's very simple. If we had $6 million not put in, I think that's very conservative, although our secretary thinks an administrator would want to ladder it. I don't want to ladder it, and that's why I picked $5 million. It is highly unlikely that tomorrow morning or within 3 weeks or 3 months, you're going to need $6 million that's sitting there earning 0 or next to 0.
Thank you for
So,
the clarity.
I take, it's all good for everybody to have an idea. I'd like to know whoever else besides John and me have handled this kind of money in the real world. And that's why I would.
Or Richard Handelsman.
Oh, good, hold on. Just a second. Richard?
Yeah.
Okay, I saw you were trying to get through. I don't know if you saw it, but I was just answering a question of whether it pays to ladder it or not. And also, I brought to the attention of everybody that the bylaws specifically say that it's the treasurer's responsibility and ability to place CDs. I know you had an opinion on it, so it's time.
I can watch everything, but I don't know how to speak to people.
Well, okay.
We can hear you.
We hear
We
you.
can hear you.
We hear
I
you.
can hear you.
All right, first of all, the 250K includes interest, so you have to adjust the principal invested so that the principal plus interest does not go over 250K in any single CD.
Oh.
Secondly, you might want to have a couple 1 months in case there is an emergency. You can immediately, I don't think any emergency will demand your money in more than or less than 1 month. So if an emergency comes up, you wait for the 1 month to expire, and then you got your 250 to invest. All right, that's it.
I want to address that. I just addressed it before. My proposal has always been a top of 5 million. We have now 11 million. not earning a penny. So it's highly unlikely, Richard, that we're gonna use $6 million within the next year. If it had to be, we just went through what the penalty would be. So it's good for everybody to play the game, but there's only two people in this room who have really done it, unless someone else here has invested in CDs and laddered and everything else. The answer is, excuse me, the answer is, and that was a question what I brought up, and I'm bringing it up to you. Simply put, this is wasted a whole year. And yet, on page 14 of the UCO bylaws, I believe it says it's my ballywick to invest in CDs.
Yes, it does. It specifies, the bylaws specify CDs. So my opinion is that a vote was already taken when the bylaws were approved 2.5 years ago.
Well, Richard, no, I find one thing, since you've been heading up the advisory committee, your opinions are accepted for certain things, and other things, your opinions are thrown in the garbage. So the answer is simple. I put in that email that we wasted at least $125,000.
Oh,
And now if we play around at the current rate, which is almost 5% of $5 million, we're going to throw away almost $250,000. This has been hanging fire for 12 months. And so I called this meeting, I invited Merrill Lynch, and you missed the part, but basically, if we went to individual banks, we'd have to open up 20 accounts. Here, you can, I'll let you talk. You can only open up, you only have to open up one. And besides that, what we're talking about that Merrill and Bank of America worked out is the same principle that we're sitting with money that gets distributed to various bank sweep accounts. And that is taking an awful lot of time, effort from a bookkeeping standpoint. And second of all, it is not necessary. In fact, in some of these sweep accounts, we're paying money to the bank to handle sweep
I'll
accounts.
still have to see them.
That's okay. I don't count.
Excuse me. I saw Fausto. I will give him his turn. But I don't really, I like that you're involved, but I don't think it's good procedure.
It's okay.
I attended a meeting that was chaired by Patricia, and she gave notice to everybody that if it gets out of hand, she'll call the meeting and have it ended. So I appreciate everybody who came, and I appreciate your information. And while Fausto wants to talk, Doctor, you'll be after Fausto.
I'm already had a hand. I don't care.
Ed, may I ask a question, Ed?
Excuse me?
Ed?
Wants a question.
You have a
Yeah,
question?
a question.
Who's talking?
Say it.
Okay, I'm curious, since Century Village was built, was it about 50 years ago? Was there ever an emergency where you needed $1 million or more that something came up at something that we're discussing as the reason not to invest? Was there anything ever that needed money immediately, any kind of emergency?
The answer is a very good question. One of my predecessors, who I ran against last, Mr. Ed Black, without going to anybody, without going to another officer session, without going to the delegate assembly, took all our reserves down to $35,000 because he bit off more than he could chew. And I was here for that reign. I don't ever remember whether Ed Black or Dorothy or anybody else has gone through this grueling kind of thing. So the question is, yes, it could happen. It did happen. And
No, it did not happen.
excuse me,
The $30,000 we were down to, but we never had to borrow any money.
that,
So make that clear.
well, you could say what you want and you're really out of turn, Olga.
I know,
The
but I
answer
think
is they
clarify
took
that.
everything out except $35,000. So the answer is Ed Black on his own, without any other approval, emptied our treasury. And by the way, it was budgeted. Not, and that time it was budgeted specifically, not generally. He just took out all the accounts and emptied it. So it did happen. What happened to Ed? He got reelected. So the answer is it could happen, but that would mean that someone who was not authorized did an illegal act and no one went forward with anything except electing him again. Having said that, Fausta, the floor is yours.
I have two questions. Since we're investing money and we're getting interest and we're a non-for-profit, what is the percentage that gets paid to the IRS?
It's a taxable event.
How much? 20, 30, 40, 50? Well, I'm asking.
It all depends on the level. And right now, even if it was 50, which it isn't, 50% of 250,000 is 125,000. It's still better than zero. So I don't want to give you the current rates, but the answer is anything while we're not for profit, when we produce income, including the newspaper, that's taxable, including any other entity where we charge, it's taxable. So the answer is it's not, and by the way, the money that's earned from using reserve funds gets put into the reserve, and therefore the contribution should be able to reduce the amount that's put in the reserve in the future. So
I don't want to hear the Bible. I'm asking a simple question. What is the percentage that we would have to pay on the interest earned? There's got to be a sliding scale. Is it based on the amount of money that's invested, on the interest that's earned, on the total income of the corporation?
It would be
Which one is it?
income.
I'm not a
It's on
CPA.
income. It's on, always on income, on capital gains, on the
Okay,
income.
so it's based on the capital gain.
Correct.
So what is the percentage of that scale? Is it 20, 30, 40%?
20% is the maximum.
First of all, I don't give tax advice on my roll, just so you know that.
Okay, well.
But it is based on the income,
Okay,
the overall, and this is a portion of it. So based
okay.
on whoever your tax preparer is,
Alright.
that's an easy call. They should be able to model that out.
Oh, okay.
And
Its highest rate is 20%.
Oh, okay. That's all I was asking. Simple
Isn't
question.
20% to 50%? It's a long-term capital gain?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 10%.
It's interest income. That's a little different than the long
Well,
term. Yeah, but
That's what I'm saying. It's
Either way.
interest income, which comes under capital gains. I understand that.
Yes.
All right. My second question is, how much does Merrill Lynch get for managing this
Okay,
specific?
so this account there's literally a $300 annual fee for the account. And there's no charges or cost to you. There are relationships with Merrill Lynch and these respondent banks that they work that out, but there's not any hidden fee to you. There are no commissions or anything of that nature, which is again quite extraordinary based on the interest level today.
So you made a an annual fee of $300. So that's the statement. So if we were to do a 6-month, does that mean we pay 150 or is it 300 for the whole year?
$300 to open the.
For the whole year.
And that's for the whole year.
Okay.
Regardless of how you use it. Yes.
Okay,
And that's because that's what we call a business account. It's a business entity type.
I understand.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ruth.
Just so everybody knows, how many CDs will be floating around out there for $5 million?
So we do that quick math.
Yeah, I can, but go ahead.
20. And again, as
How
I,
many?
20, yes.
4 times 5.
Now, as the gentleman stated, you're correct that again, the CD amount will be less than 250 because it'll be inclusive of the interest that you're on, and they'll just keep adding. And this program for one entity can go up to 50 million. So just to give you an example of the capacity that they have, you know, based on where you are with 5 million as an example.
Yeah, question.
Excuse me,
Yes.
doctor,
I had, the one question has already been asked, that there's a $300 annual fee.
Yes.
Independent of the amount. So if we did 2 million, 5 million, or 10 million.
Doesn't matter.
300,
Yeah,
that's the only fee that, so, okay.
for that establishing.
The one comment that I had is with the homeowners association, if you do the short form, I believe the capital gains is a 30% correct rate, flat rate. Is that true?
to my knowledge, and I don't.
If you don't do it long form with the full,
Well, I don't do the tax return for Yugo. Our outside accountant does it.
I would just have that question posed to them and basically say, this is what we're contemplating to do. There's interest from these CDs. Can you model out what a potential tax rate and amount would be for us?
Okay,
That'll
and the-
help.
the other question I have, reading here, it says Promontory Interfinancial Network. I thought we're dealing with Merrill Lynch. Who is this entity?
You are.
Are they any different from Silicon National Valley Bank?
So it's, yeah, let's.
We're in a difficult time. I'm just asking.
Oh, understood. Yeah, so that is the administrative arm of what this program is. So it's almost like they private label this for Merrill Lynch, Bank of America clients. And they handle the
And what
administration.
kind of insurance policies or insurance do they have that you?
That I don't know. And that's a good question. I can find out, you know. But
Okay.
again, the underlying instruments that will be sitting in your account are FDIC insured, the CDs.
Yes, but I understand that the ownership of the CD may not be entirely in Century Village. It would be like a dual because you're carving it up and putting it in different places. So there may be joint ownership.
No, it's your ownership. You, the entity that opens the account, that is the owner of the CD. That's the owner of the cash.
So there's no joint ownership or administrative.
No.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
joint owner.
Thank you.
That's why it's guaranteed.
They credited
And
interest credit.
it certainly is much more efficient than we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because every day is costing us money, and there's no guarantee that 3 weeks from now or a month from now, the interest rate could be higher.
And this is our due diligence meeting. We need to check on all the factors.
You can ask whatever you want. That's why it is this meeting. And as I understand it, and I could correct it, is who is the account open with? I thought the account is open with Bank of America.
Merrill Lynch, which again, we are Merrill Lynch and Bank of America, we're a wholly owned subsidiary.
The
of-
liability is the same.
I'm sorry?
The liability is not the same. This is by itself and this is by itself.
Not if they're one.
No.
But I have another question on this.
Get a broker's on Bank of America. Think of it that way.
Okay, the interest that we are getting, is it credited daily, monthly, or
No.
just the end of the period?
Usually end of period. So it's either 6 months or either end of period if it's shorter term CDs or 6 months and 1 year. So, but it's not done daily, it's not done monthly.
Simple interest.
Yes,
Mark, I have one question, and you said the minimum buy-in is $5 million.
for this program, yes.
Okay, fine. What if by chance we have to take $1 million out for an emergency? is that 4 million still eligible for the program, or does the program not exist anymore?
Good question. So, and I'll have to get clarification. So my understanding would be you initially start with 5 million. And let's just say, as an example, you did it for a year. And within that year, you had to liquidate $1 million. That other 4 million stays in those CDs. That will not go anywhere. Now, when it comes time to renew all of the money, do you have to have 5 million again to start? I actually don't know the answer to that, and I'll find out.
I
for you.
think the answer is yes.
Penalty for us going under the 5 million.
No,
Yeah.
for only the amount that you redeem early, only that amount that you redeem early.
But would the annual fee go up then if we went below the minimum? You
Yeah,
said $300 a year.
The $300,
No, he
that's,
said that same thing.
I know, but if you pull money out, you're no longer part.
No, it's still one fee for the year.
it's just a one-time.
I just asked questions. I don't mean
It's,
Anymore.
Everybody's forgetting there's $7 million in the account.
Right,
Well,
extra.
Right.
Of course.
So you shouldn't have to liquidate any of that
We
money.
need $12 million. We're in big trouble.
But I,
We're in big trouble. Go ahead, Fausto.
Okay, a couple of things that you said. The $5 million that was taken out was not taken out for an investment. It was taken out to redo the roads of Century Village.
oh, you said,
Okay, it wasn't used as an investment purpose. The other thing that I think you need to look into, when the hurricane hit in 07,
Yeah,
money needed to be taken out to repair the clubhouse that was not covered by insurance and other damage. I don't know, I wasn't involved, I lived here, but I was not, I don't know how much money UCO had to put out, whatever our deductible was, but I'm sure it was close to $1 million or maybe more.
even if it was 3 million,
I'm just,
Fausto, it's a good question, but we could go around in a circle forever.
I'm just bringing up,
Listen, all I can tell you is there was a period we were down to $35,000 for a illegal withdrawal from the reserves when those reserves were in individual bank accounts.
Okay.
We don't have that now.
I'm done,
While we issue a report with a breakdown,
okay?
any expense is available from the reserves the way we have it now.
Okay.
So,
I'm gonna make
I
one more
agree.
statement before I leave,
go ahead.
okay? It's very plain, very simple.
Yeah,
If it's an emergency repair, you have the right to take it from wherever reserve that you have.
correct.
When you are investing unit owners' money, you need the approval of the officers, approval of executive board, and approval of the delegates
For what?
to invest
Investment
their
of
money.
money.
Not
It's
true.
their money.
Not true. Not true. Tell
That's
me,
where
were
we
you
differ.
here when Ed Black was here?
Yes,
Did he?
I've been here since 2000, before you.
Were you here when Dorothy was here?
Yes,
Were you here when Dorothy put the money in non-backed up money? In other words.
I wasn't involved in the office.
Well, but you
So-
were here.
I was here.
So what we have here is a roadblock.
No, Ed, I'm not trying to block you. I'm
You
trying
are.
to, I'm not. And you're talking that for the last 12 months, we've stonewalled you. The only person that stalled anybody was you. We
No.
asked you to please put it in writing, make a presentation, which is what you're doing now, so that everybody can review it, can go out and be presented to the officers and the procedure, so it could be brought to the delegate assembly, so they could look at this paper for 30 days and let them vote on it. So the only person that's not done what you're telling us that we're doing was you.
Not true.
Yes, it is.
Because we had 3 votes or intended to have 3
I'm
votes.
sorry.
I'm sorry, Fausto, but you elongated 2 meetings until there wasn't a quorum.
Stop.
I don't want to get into the dirt.
This is-
It's simple.
Stop.
It's simple.
Stop.
It's simple.
You just contradicted yourself, by the way.
What?
You told everyone just here that Ed Black took out the money and didn't ask the officers or anyone else.
I was here. I was a
Okay, but
delegate.
you want to do the same thing. He's right in one thing. They did ask you, and I'm not taking his side. I'm talking about for the community. You were told to put it in writing and present it to all the boards, which you did not.
Not
So
true.
you're not giving the people a chance to.
I have it.
People in this room.
I have it in writing. I have the memo, which I wrote, which said we were left with $335,000. And that was done contemporarily, the same time that Ed Black did it. So the answer is, words are, as Mr. Israel says, is nothing. I have it in black and white.
Right, and now what are we going now? Forget about what the.
Yeah, I know. This is going up in the room.
Yeah, that's wrong. What are we gonna start doing now with the procedures that we just put together when we're talking about? Are we gonna present it to the officers committee?
The officers committee is represented right here. Right here. And it's been presented
No, it's
and it's been
Richard, is this the final step? Or can we take it directly to the assembly, or do we have to take it to the officers for approval?
How about the executive?
How about the
Executive board.
executive board? They don't say, they never saw it.
Right.
I mean, let's be reasonable.
That's what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to get all
You know, when
the
you hand this,
pros
to
and
the-
cons.
when you say to the audience, they don't have what we have,
I
they don't
understand.
have him, they don't have, it's not fair to tell the people we're investing money without them seeing what you're investing in.
what you're ignoring is that we did bring it to the
Nothing.
floor. We did bring it to the floor, and those that voted for it numerically outvoted those who were not.
I'm gonna-
And the only reason
See
it
where it's
wasn't
going.
carried forward is because our current bylaw says if you don't vote, it counts as a no vote. And I think even on that basis, we were only 4 short.
I have to bring this up.
Yeah,
You've never brought CDs, never. You were talking about treasury bills up until a month
Right.
ago.
Right.
Because they asked me to
You have
change.
never brought the
Right.
idea
Like people
of
get in there.
CDs.
that's
Because they
true.
were never earning interest until
No,
now.
the
Now
answer,
they are. Now go forward with
But I don't
CDs.
think
You got it.
looking right.
that's what I'm
You
saying.
were talking about treasury bills.
Well, I disagree with
The
you.
only reason that they weren't brought forward is because they were not in the bylaws.
It's not true.
Guys
Well,
needed to go.
it's not true.
Someone correct me.
Well,
Yeah, well, let's hold
hold on,
bylaws
hold on.
originally, and then we're
Are
taking
you
it out.
there?
Talking about that.
Hold on. Excuse me. Richard,
He's on the phone.
what was your outlook? What was your,
Make sure you like-
yeah, of course.
I'm sorry?
That's why I'm glad you came.
Yes.
I've been fighting this for-
First, I would say that bylaws authorize you to invest in CDs. What Fausto mentioned, there is no mechanism in the bylaws to bring any attempt to invest in a CD to the officers committee, the executive committee, and then the delegate assembly. However, since we have been arguing about this for over a year, I would say, let us bring your proposal to the officers, executive and assembly, just to get it done with. Otherwise, we're gonna be arguing forever.
For another year.
Well, the answer is
I don't
simple.
want to do it.
Tomorrow is the officers committee.
Bring it to them tomorrow.
Okay, many of the officers were here, and it's a simple matter
Oh, come on, guys.
to
I have
put
an
it
appointment.
on
Put it on.
the,
Agenda.
on the agenda,
Every.
and any officer could put it on the agenda.
You're an officer.
Why should I do it?
When you,
Why should I do it when I'm not required to?
You gotta see both sides of
Ed,
it.
get it done, let's do it.
Arguments.
Well, it's not endless. If we follow the bylaws, it's the bylaws.
On and on.
We will see tomorrow.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Every officer, not all, but I think we had 1, 2, 3.
You've now got two on. Great.
Yeah, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, one of you's got to put it on for tomorrow.
We'll see tomorrow.
Okay.
At that,
Ed, I'm sorry, just Ed, I have to leave. Thank you very much for inviting me and,
you're on,
I,
you're on the finance committee.
does that mean I have a vote?
Well, we're not voting.
You have an opinion.
Everybody's entitled to their
She can
opinion.
throw in the garbage, she said.
Take care.
Okay, Ed, thank you.
This extended beyond belief. I appreciate those who came, those who waited in. And unless someone has something else to bring to the floor, I am calling for a end to the meeting.
Your adjournment.
Adjournment.
I second it.
Hey, Ed, I have one question.
Yeah,
You said you're investing 5 of 11 million.
right.
Where's the other 6 million?
I thought I transferred it to your personal account.
Yeah, I saw that, but I don't know where you want to spend it.
Well, it's on